How is it going, everybody? You're watching Then About Tech, and today I'm going to tell you the most important iPhone settings you need to change right now to save a ton of battery life. So let's get started. The first one is actually turn off 5G. That's right, so go ahead here, tap on cellular. If you use more than one SIM, you can tap on one of them, the one you use, or both if you use both for cellular data, okay? And then go ahead and tap here on voice and data, and then you have the options right here. Go ahead and tap on 4G. So don't use 5G if you actually want to save battery life, because the thing is 5G heats up your iPhone and 5G uses so much more of your battery life. And this has to do with the nature of the connection. Oh, and by the way, depending on where you live, sometimes 5G is not even that much faster than 4G. So this makes complete sense. Setting number 2 has to do with promotion. So let's open up our settings, scroll down until we see accessibility, and then motion, and right here we have limit frame rate. And as I said, this is exclusive to iPhones with the ProMotion feature, so the iPhone 13 Pro and 14 Pro series. And when we actually go ahead and enable this feature right here, what we're gonna do is actually set a maximum frame rate to 60 frames per second. So instead of 120 Hertz, which ProMotion enables, we're gonna cut down to 60 frames per second, which is a standard frame rate for all iPhones. Please keep in mind that the idea of this video is to save as much battery life as we can adjusting our settings. Of course, you don't need to go ahead and enable or disable everything that I'm showing in this video. Sometimes something that I show you here is important to you, no problem, but my role here is to show you everything that you can do, and then you can analyze and choose for yourself what you want to enable or disable. Let's come back to our settings and now scroll down to general, and let's talk a little bit about background app refresh. I actually have a dedicated video on this subject, so I'm gonna be brief here in this video, but if you want to check out my in-depth video on background app refresh, I'm gonna leave a card right here and link in the description as well. So if you want to save battery, what you want to do here is disable as many apps as you can, and those apps that you're gonna disable will not refresh content in the background. So they will not load remote content and download stuff when they are in the background. So when they're not in use, when they are like this, for example, everything is in the background right now because we are on the home screen, right? So this is what you do if you want to save a ton of battery life. So go ahead here and disable as many apps as you can. Of course, some apps you will want to have background app refresh, so that's why I do recommend that you check out my video, as I mentioned, so you'll understand the whole thing. Back to our settings, let's scroll down until we see our photos. That's right. So keep scrolling, and as you can see here, photos, and then this is super important, guys. Keep scrolling down a little bit more until you see cellular data. And this is so important, because if you use iCloud photos like I use and most iPhone users use, when you take a photo or record a video, it automatically uploads to iCloud and syncs to all your devices, right? So by default, it'll do that process of uploading and also downloading new stuff via cellular data. And this, of course, is really bad for your battery, because cellular data uses much more of your battery than Wi-Fi. So what I recommend you to do is disable this feature, and then iCloud photos will only be updated for upload and download when you're connected to Wi-Fi. Now let's talk about the exclusive iPhone 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max feature, which is the always on display. So again, right here on our settings, we can scroll down until we see display and brightness. Sorry about that. So display and brightness. And as you scroll down, you see here always on display, which is on by default. If you tap on this option, we have a few possibilities. You can disable always on display altogether, and then when you lock your iPhone, it's gonna be normal, just like all other iPhone models, completely black and dark. But of course, you also have another option, which is enabling here the always on display and customizing it to, for example, not show the wallpaper or not show the notifications, and then you will have your always on display, as you can see, but it's gonna be darker than your usual always on display. So it's gonna be pretty much all dark, just hour and widgets. And this is a good possibility as well, considering that your typical always on display is like this. So then it shows pretty much everything, notifications, it's gonna show your wallpaper, your background and all that. So then you have those possibilities you can choose and customize if you wanna completely disable the always on display, or maybe use it halfway, kind of an Android always on display like, if you disable those two options. So it's up to you. Still talking about wallpapers and stuff, if we scroll down until we go to wallpaper itself, right here we have the wallpapers I'm currently using, as you can see, and of course I can add a new wallpaper. And if I tap here, what I recommend you to do is to completely avoid and not use animated wallpapers. So we have some animated dynamic wallpapers, live wallpapers, where sometimes you pick this option, it's gonna cycle through photos and videos. We have weather and astronomy, and of course it's gonna continue constantly update to get your current location, to get where you are in the world, and also if it's night or daytime. So it's gonna be constantly animated and moving, and this is really bad for your battery. So I don't recommend that you use animated 3D live wallpapers. Stick with still wallpapers, it's much better for a battery. And still talking about display as a whole, if we scroll down until we see display and brightness, let's talk about appearance and let's talk about dark mode. Guys, this is so important. Dark mode, as you know, will make your iPhone, the whole theme of your iPhone, dark. I generally don't use it for videos because it looks better here on camera, the light mode, but I do recommend that you always enable dark mode. And this makes a huge difference, but only if you have an OLED display iPhone. So if your iPhone is the iPhone 10 or newer, apart from the iPhone 10R, and the iPhone 11, the normal 11. Apart from those models, all iPhone models from the iPhone 10 and newer have an OLED display. And if you have one of those iPhones, using the dark mode is so good because this enables all those black areas here of your display to be completely turned off. So all of the pixels and everything like that, when we have complete darkness, like those options right here, those places right here, they are completely off when you are in dark mode, and this saves so much better. Just so you have an idea, if you use the dark mode and if you use a screen brightness of 100%, like all the way 100% screen brightness, just by using the dark mode, you can save up to 39% of battery. This is absolutely insane, the amount of battery you can save just on this little display feature. Of course, nobody uses their brightness 100% all the time, so if you use your normal display brightness like that, for example, you're gonna save like 10, maybe 15% on this feature alone. So dark mode is a real thing, but again, only if you have an OLED iPhone. Now let's talk about one of the oldest tips, but one of the most important that I always make sure to show on my channel. And that is, of course, let's scroll down until we get to location services. That's right, location services is such a big deal, guys. I always talk about this. It's one of the most important things that you have to keep in mind if you want to save battery. Of course, I don't recommend that you go ahead and disable location services and turn it off completely, because for some apps this is actually really important, but go ahead here and take a look one by one and see which apps are actually using your current location right now. And especially if you have apps that are set to always, go ahead here and do as I do, while using or never. So tap on apps one by one and always choose while using the app or never, depending if you need it to have your location or not. Sometimes there are apps here that are using your location, and it just makes no sense to let them see where you are. Now let's talk about one setting related to Siri. So let's open up our settings, scroll down until we see Siri and search, and this is an old friend as well, which is listen for Hey Siri. So disable that option. You're seeing here in Portuguese because I have it set for Portuguese for me, but of course on yours it'll probably say Hey Siri or your favorite language. So as you can see right here, the listen for Hey Siri is a pretty much useless feature that will make your iPhone keep listening and keep your mics on and listening to you, waiting for that command to trigger Siri. So this is completely useless in my opinion. If you want to use Siri, just press and hold right here. And of course, listen for Hey Siri is really bad for battery. It's constantly listening, constantly analyzing speech, constantly processing. It just makes no sense to leave this feature turned on. And last but not least, and I do mean not least, we have to talk about going of course back to our settings and scrolling down until we see battery. We have to talk about the low power mode. And guys, this is a pretty old feature by now in 2023, but I always talk about that in my videos as well because I do recommend that you enable low power mode as many times as you want, every day if you wanted to, as you wish. Low power mode is a great feature, is the best feature to save battery on your iPhone. Of course, it has drawbacks. You're going to be disabling quite a lot of stuff from your iPhone, but I do recommend that you use low power mode because it's extremely effective. As you can see right now, the screen just dimmed because of low power mode. So it's extremely effective. It's great and it does no harm to your iPhone. If you want to actually learn everything about low power mode, what it does exactly, all the details, all the technical details, what's actually going to be disabled by low power mode, so how it actually does its magic, I'm also going to link you to this video right here where I explain you everything you need to know about low power mode, dedicated video here on the channel, link in the description as well. So this is it. Those are the most important iPhone settings you need to change right now in order to save battery life on your iPhone. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video as usual. Bye bye guys.